Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is I can't believe we're having this episode right now, Digits. If you can tell, it may be a bit of a subdued show, believe it or not, from me. If you can hear my voice, if you go on my Instagram, you will see I was in fact there at the game we'll be talking about for quite some time. The clincher to send the Philadelphia Phillies to the World Series. Max, I just can't believe those words are coming out of my mouth. Do you remember what we were talking about last time we met on here?
No, but it certainly wasn't this.
We were talking about who we would rather face, the Mets or the Cardinals, and I said I don't really want to face either of them. I think the Phillies will lose.
Hey,
Oh my
at
god.
least I had the faith in the wild card round.
At least you had the faith in the wild card round. It's true. You called your shot. You called your shot during like the All Star break, pretty much, with that one. But anyways, my God, I apologize for my voice. I mean, you can't blame me. If you saw Bryce Harper hit that home run in real life, if you saw Bryce Harper hit it at home, I'm surprised you have your voice, Max. Max, how were you watching the games this past weekend?
I did have the Phillies on the TV. I made it back Saturday, so it was more so last weekend that I had issues with.
Okay,
But thankfully, the Eagles were national TV last Sunday night. I was able to catch
right.
that no problem. So for this week, yeah, the Phillies admittedly were not on main TV at first. I kind of forgot they'd started. I was an hour late on that. I thought it was 3 o'clock start and it was 2 o'clock. So I tuned in and missed the first couple innings. Didn't miss much that it seemed, but uh, yeah, I went pretty nuts. It's weird because I usually watch sports alone in my house,
Hmm.
so I tend to not get too animated, right? Like it's a little weird
Yeah.
going totally nuts if you're by yourself and don't have anyone else to
Speak for
talk.
yourself, man. I go pretty. I was in my car during the NLDS
It's
listening to
I
the
would say
game.
it's different in a car. I think it's different in a car. I
Okay,
get juiced up listening to radio
okay.
calls. But if you're just sitting there watching TV alone, it's hard to get
I
like
hear you.
you get
I hear you.
excited, but it's when you're watching on TV. I guess it's with the car radio, you're always alone, right? With the TV is the social gathering of the American people. You're
That's a good
supposed to
point.
have family or friends next to you. When you watch TV, you're supposed to have other people you're sharing it with. So when I was watching it alone yesterday, I wasn't. I don't typically go nuts for these kind of things. I went ballistic on the Bryce Harper home run. Got up, fist pumping around my house, yelling at my walls. I was psyched. It was the best Philadelphia sports moment since the Philly special. I think.
Just trying to think. Yeah, that's not debatable. I don't think that's
I
debatable,
don't know how it
man.
could be debatable, but it was. It. I'll say this: John Smoltz and his partner haven't been the best casting crew. They set that up so perfectly.
Yep,
It was set up. I mean, you weren't there, so I guess you didn't really see the TV call. Maybe you saw it
I've
highlights or
seen it.
whatever.
I've seen it since.
I don't know. They got me believing beforehand, and that ball off the bat was just so loud, and you could tell that it was not just a fly out to left.
Well,
And
I mean, if you saw from my angle, and you can hear me in the audio in the video when it goes off, I didn't think home run right away. Like the Reese off the bat, it's like, oh man, that's gone. I mean, the Bryce thing, I can hear. I'm like, okay, okay, and then it just kept going. Like I thought that's like a double. Like okay,
that's
maybe
what
we'll
I
get the
thought it was. So I thought it was going to be a
right.
double that hit the wall.
Right. We're gonna get a tying run in, maybe. If not, we got second and third, and it just kept going. And I mean, I'll never forget. I'll never forget just watching that ball go past where the fence was and being like, oh my god, like he just like this. That's what you got him for, man. Like, I mean, the first question tonight is how did this happen? Which is we're trying to just talking about it. Like, how did this happen, dude? Like, it just doesn't make any sense because we watched this team all season. I know you a little less than me, but nonetheless, man, you watch this team. Even you not watching all 162, they never looked like they were capable of doing this. How the hell did this happen, Max?
I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, sometimes it really is just lightning in a bottle. Like everything comes together at the right time. Um, I will say this: they every team that makes a deep postseason run, all the great ones, they always have like a thing, whether it's a song or like
Right.
the infamous toaster with the Golden State Warriors, like just stuff
I
like that. There's
forgot
always
about the
something.
toaster.
This Phillies team, they found their song, right? And sometimes like it's just as simple as having something for everybody, like not to agree upon, because like everyone's there for the sole goal to win and to
Right.
to do all the best things you can to be a professional. But like there's sometimes it just everything just kind of strikes the right chord, and it's something as simple as a remade version of a song from the 80s that catches the clubhouse by fire and becomes the city's anthem for a month. You know what I mean? It's just how there's no explanation for these things sometimes. And I think that this Phillies team is we're lucky enough to be hometown fans of it, but stuff like this is why people love sports. It's because this had no reason to happen. This had no right to happen, and it's a bunch of seemingly likable dudes coming together. And hopefully, the last chapter of this is they take down the notorious COVID cheaters in the Astros. The Astros got off scot-free. They had their 8 tour cut short by coronavirus, and I forget who I saw, stupid. All the credit on in the world to this tweeter who said that this feels like a sequel to Eagles.
Yeah,
Patriots
I know what you're
Super Bowl,
talking about.
where everybody has to cheer for their least favorite sports city because they're against the evil empire. And I don't care. I don't care if it's the lesser of two evils. Give me the Astros. Give me everybody's support from San Diego to the diehard Yankees fans in Staten Island. Give me everything, dude. Everybody hates the Astros. It feels so nice that the Phillies have the vibes, and everybody around the country is embracing these vibes.
It's the most magical run. I mean, you compare it to the Eagles, but in a way, the Eagles were better because it was the Eagles, I think, and it was the first Super Bowl, and that'll always be the most special thing. And yeah, they did it with a backup quarterback, but that was the first seed. That was like the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, the Eagles were still Eagles were still consistently good with a backup quarterback.
So wait,
they won 2 playoff games. They won a couple regular season games. The defense was largely unchanged throughout that run. Like, this is a team that had shown nothing but perpetual mediocrity, highs and lows. I mean, granted, they got better under a new manager. I think that's the only thing that you can say is that maybe if this Rob Thompson was the manager for 162 games, maybe the Phillies would have been this good.
That's a great point.
Maybe that's all really boils down to. And that's another part of the lightning in a bottle thing. Not every midseason manager firing goes this smoothly, Josh. Doesn't matter what sport it is. Most of the time, you're just treading water and trying to get through the season and hope that what you did is good enough to get you a next job somewhere, and that you didn't look totally in over your head, or if you're a player, that you didn't essentially build yourself a bad reputation in some which way, shape, or form, right? Not all managers step in and go, what was it, like 68 and 49 and in 115, 120 games as a manager. That's not how it usually goes. And this Phillies team is quite literally they're a Disney movie. They are a Disney movie. They're a bunch of people that have had their trials and tribulations, a lot of unexpected heroes, a lot of young guys who are new characters who show up halfway through the movie and save the good guys, like save Bryce Harper and Reese Hoskins. Like it's a script. It's quite literally the old cliche. You couldn't write this stuff.
I kept saying that yesterday, even before the game, as I was driving. Me and my dad were driving. I just kept gushing over why do people not like sports? Like, people will watch awful Hallmark Christmas movies and they don't give this a chance. And this
how do you not like sports? It's just how do you not?
So, I mean, I think I know the answer, but I just kind of want to throw things out since we're talking about this already. Is this the greatest run we've ever seen as a city? I mean, going back before our births, even, you and me. I think without a doubt in our lifetime, it's got to be the greatest run. I think the only thing that can compare would be the Flyers in 2010. What do you have to say?
Honestly, I don't think I can put it above the Eagles quite yet. It's a little bit different because of the sports and everything. I think the big thing that this Phillies team has working for it is just sheer number of games. Like, there's just been strictly more times that the Phillies have been on TV in a national spotlight in the last 2 weeks and have come away with huge wins, right? The Eagles only had to do that 3 times in a month, right? Because they had the bye week, or I guess 5 weeks, right? They have the bye week to start and the week between championship and Super Bowl. But I think that just in terms of the way that it ended, and maybe if this Phillies team finishes the job, we can revisit this conversation.
That's a great point.
Playing a big part into it.
That's a great point.
This is probably my most curmudgeonly sports take. I think that I never understood the hype, right? Just a great example of this year, right? If the Phillies lose this World Series, I don't get World Series gear just because you make it there. Because if you lose, that's not something to celebrate, right?
So
A lot of people are content with just getting there. I don't want my heart ripped out at this stage. So I think that that last step's always the biggest, at least for me.
So I disagree with you there, man. Honestly,
That's fair.
and I'm not typically that guy. It's just all so built on expectations, and I guess so. When the Eagles, I was talking about this yesterday. When the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I was so sure they were going to lose to the Falcons that first game. I remember really thinking they were going to lose to the Falcons. They beat the Falcons, and from there on out, I was like, they're going to win. I thought the Eagles were going to win the Super Bowl like all year. I thought they were going to win the Super Bowl once they were in the Super Bowl, once they played the Vikings. With this Phillies team, I mean, it's hard to compare, right? They're both so great, and they have different ways just based on the Eagles never having won a Super Bowl versus, the way that the city loves the Eagles versus the Phillies just coming from absolutely freaking nowhere, man. All year, I said the only reason this team is different from all the other years is simply because they gifted them a third playoff spot. I was saying they didn't deserve it. Like, hand up, man. Hand up. I was saying they didn't deserve it. And here they are playing the World Series and getting there in dominant fashion. You sweep the Cardinals. You don't go back to Atlanta. You don't go back to San Diego. And here you are playing the Astros. Digits, I hate to say it, but I'm going to get some Phillies gear that say National League champions from this year if they don't win the World Series, because damn it, just making it has been the craziest run. And I really believe that this is going to be the start of possibly another dynasty a la 07 to 11. I just think that this group of guys, it's just such a special group. You were touching on it. And I think there's some element about just getting to October, seeing what the ballpark is like, seeing how the city will react to you when they're winning. Because, Max, I was there when Gene Segura hit that walk-off single against the Marlins and threw his bat 40 feet in the air. I don't know if you remember that.
I do.
There were 4,000 people in that ballpark. It was September, Max. It was barely a month ago. I mean, it was barely over a month ago, and people they didn't care that much. There was no belief. I think that with this group of guys, they know what it takes. They know what the city is like in October, and I think they're going to want to get back there. I feel most of all that we look at those teams and how likable Ryan Howard, Rollins, Utley, Victorino, all those guys were, and I didn't feel that way about this group. When you get into the postseason, it seems like you really get to know these guys, and they have their moments. Like JT, the guy who, we all know I have hate.
He did some unlikable things in the regular season. We don't need to mince words.
Right.
No matter if they win or lose this World Series, he did call $650,000 not a lot of money.
He called $650 a lot of money. He was so tone deaf about, the vaccine and acting like he was high and mighty. But now, and not even that, he just seems kind of like a dud. You know what I mean? Like an average Joe, low on the tone scale. And now you're seeing these videos of him in these playoffs, and it's like, who's this guy? Who's this fun guy? No, this is JT. The other guy was Jacob Tyler. This is JT now. So, I mean, look, it's just special. I think we got something for years to come. But for now, let's take it back. We spent the first 13 minutes just kind of gushing and celebrating. But I kind of want to get in.
True, man. This hasn't happened speaking of 13, this hasn't happened in 13 years. I'm going to take every moment to celebrate this.
It's special. I mean, it really is special. The World Series, we'll talk later in the show. I want to pick your brain on where we'll be watching the World Series from. Some good spots in your opinion, as you've been 21 in the Philadelphia scene for a little longer than I have. So before we get to that, World Series preview, Digits, there's a few things I want to touch on. We're going to spend the majority of this episode, obviously focusing on the Phillies. No Eagles questions, man. I mean, I'm sorry. It's just everyone's taking a back seat.
It's bye week. This is the week to do it. The week to do it.
So, Digits, your World Series preview. It is going to be tough. Let's not mince words here. Before we make our official predictions, I want to start and talk about the pitching matchups. I think it's just about no secret the Astros are going to come out swinging with Justin Verlander. But I wanted to know your thoughts on the Phillies pitching. Who do you want to start in game one? There's been some talk about giving Wheeler an extra day of rest and starting with Nola game one. And how many pitchers do you want to go deep? Are we going to be pitching someone on short rest in game four? Are we going with Falter again? Do you want a closer? All those things. So just give it to me as it goes through your head naturally, how you want to approach pitching in this World Series.
All right, so I do want to start with this. Obviously, Justin Verlander is their ace, right? Like he's done it in the World Series in both series wins and series losses. The dude
Maybe
is,
the best pitcher of our generation.
I think he is. I think
Yeah.
that it's pretty much just between him and Kershaw, and,
I was thinking
he's
Kershaw.
got it. He's got it done while Kershaw is largely not. And I think most of Justin Verlander's resume speaks for itself. With that being said, I think that I want to go with Aaron Nola simply because I don't want this to sound like a shot at Zach Wheeler. I think that when it comes to Zach Wheeler, his strength is that he'll always pitch at a super high level consistently. He'll always pitch you in that
I'm getting what you're saying.
Like 85th to 90th percentile of his outcomes, right? And if you're going against Verlander, you need somebody who can kind of take it up a notch. But the thing is with Nola is that if you get the bad Nola and he gets lit up, whatever, man. It was Justin Verlander game one in Houston, right? It's a nice double-edged sword. I don't think Nola is better than Wheeler in any sense of the word, but I think if one of them is just going to break through their ceiling, I think Nola has just a little bit higher of a peak there. If he does break through it, I think he can duel with Verlander in this small hypothetical. I think there's a much larger chance that he gets lit up and he gets rocked by Houston. And you know what? That's okay. If we need to throw away game one in Houston, that's okay. Because I'm supremely Josh, we don't talk about this a lot in baseball. I'm supremely confident the Phillies have a home field advantage. There's no way they will lose game three. They can be up 2-0, down 2-0, or tied 1-1. There's no way that team will lose game three, regardless of series score.
So Max, I mean, you always are like, you're very open about how you're not like the baseball guy. That's like that might be the smartest thing you've ever said about baseball, man. Like the way you just broke that down
back in there still.
Yeah. Like no, I want to try to discount you. You still watch the team. You're still a fan, but you're always that was so spot on, man. And I love how you put that. I completely agree with you. I wasn't even thinking about that, first of all. Like I was just saying, let's go with Nola game one. Because it's been, I mean, he hasn't pitched since Wednesday.
He's also the most well rested. Like that obviously should play into the factor. But
so then you give Wheeler an extra day for game two, and then that's a great point. Like if it's Verlander and Verlander's dealing, it's kind of a wash anyway. And I think you're dead on when you say that Nola's ceiling is higher than Wheeler's ceiling, but Wheeler's floor is so much higher than Nola's floor. So I love that. I'm with you. I think they will go with Nola. Based off rest more than anything. Something I wanted to bring up. I saw something on Twitter, and I'm checking another source as well. Justin Verlander might be comparable to Kershaw in the playoffs, and Verlander doesn't get talked about more. First off, let's talk about Verlander's career stats in the playoffs. 15-11 with an ERA of 3.55 in 33 appearances. Well, that's certainly good. That's not who Justin Verlander is. You know what I mean? Like that's like a good MLB starter.
I think if you looked up his stats in the playoffs with Houston, I think that would maybe tell a little bit of a different story.
Fair. You certainly got some merit there. In 2017, he had a 2.21 ERA. How about these last three appearances in the playoffs from Verlander, including this year? 2018, 4.15. 2019, 4.33. 2022, 6.30. Max. And in the World Series,
not good.
In the World Series, 7 career starts in the World Series, 4 with Houston, 3 with Detroit. In 38 innings pitched, he is 0-6 with a 5.68 ERA.
Wow.
I didn't know any of this before today. This is some eye-opening stuff. Look, I'm not getting my hopes up, right? When Friday comes around, I'm expecting a lights-out Verlander. But I'm just saying, man, keep that in the back of your mind. All right, so we're both on the same page. You go, excuse me, it's not easy over here talking.
It's all right. Take a sip of water if you need to. I got one other quick point that I can.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is thin. I won't deny it. But Aaron Nola is a Southern boy. Did play in the SEC. I believe I could be wrong on this. I'm trying to find the exact game because I can't definitively say this. I believe one of Aaron Nola's best starts in college was against the University of Texas. Obviously, it's a little bit thin. I'm trying to find it, but I feel like something in the back of my mind is just like Aaron Nola pitched a game that basically made him a rich man against the University of Texas.
That's funny.
All that I'm seeing on the old internet is just stuff about the last week because of
Right.
everything going on. So could be wrong on that. If someone wants to fact check me live, I will happily admit I'm wrong if I am. But at least it's not like he's not one of those situations where he's a Cali bro and he's experiencing the dry Texas heat for the first time, or one of those quarterbacks that's never seen snow in his life. So there's always a little bit of merit to going back to familiar territory, I think.
So maybe the tougher question, other than that, who's pitching game 1 and game 2, who the hell pitches game 4, right? It's pretty much a shoo-in. Ranger, who is God, I always loved Ranger, but seeing Ranger with emotion was so fun after the NLCS. That guy's always so stone cold. He was loving it after that game. He's going to pitch game 3. Who the hell pitches game 4? Do you go back to Bailey Falter after that mess? I mean, what did he get, 2 outs, right? Or you go with Noah Syndergaard, who was pretty awful during the regular season, but he's looked damn good in the playoffs.
That's the issue. It's not like Syndergaard's been for a guy who's been pegged as pretty inconsistent. He's been pretty consistently great in coming in the middle innings and just throwing a shutdown 35 to 40 pitches, however long that gets him.
And in both scenarios, either leading or stopping the bleeding, he's done both.
Yeah. I've been last time we were here, I kind of petitioned for him to maybe be starting a game in a potential Braves, potential second round series at the time when we last talked. I want to say that he's earned it if it comes to that, and I'm not really sure you can get away with Bailey Falter against this Astros lineup after, no disrespect to the Braves, they are still the reigning world champions for another couple, 10 days or so, but the Astros lineup this year is a lot scarier than that Braves lineup. And the Phillies have I don't know how many more early major deficits the Phillies can come back from. You know what I mean? They've already come back from down 3 going into the 9th. They went down 4 to start the one game against the Padres, and then they're subsequently down 2 more separate times in that game. You can't come back from every deficit you face, and when there's only 4 games left in the whole season, I'm not sure if I can do Bailey Falter to start.
Yeah, I think I gotta agree with you, man. And I'm picturing Jose Altuve hitting against Bailey Falter, and I'm like, that guy would eat that guy up for breakfast. Now, granted, they'll probably still eat Syndergaard. And I have no problem seeing Bailey Falter pitch in this series. Maybe.
Yeah, I think Bailey Falter's pitched well enough that he should have a spot in this series.
Piggybacking off of
you go down
Syndergaard in game 4
against the Astros, you're dead.
Yeah.
They're too lethal top to bottom. They're too experienced.
No, especially to start a game. If he gets shelled middle innings, well, whatever.
Yeah, it's
start a game.
You're down 4-0 in the 5th after a 0-0 game. You're down 4-0 going into your first at bat. You can't got away with it once. Don't push your luck.
Yeah. So last pitching question I got for you. I mean, look, Topper, he's managed his bullpen. He's put on a clinic. I mean, I've questioned a few decisions, and what do I know? I mean, come on. I wanted Suarez to go out there
when he shouldn't have. That's the only thing he's done wrong. It ended up looking great, but
it did.
It ended up. I shouldn't say ended up looking great. It ended up working out, but I think that's the most human element that analytics have still yet to capture, particularly in baseball, but really in any sport. It's getting away from the guy who is just kind of performing out of his mind.
Yeah, look, hey, I don't think Suarez comes out of the bullpen if he didn't get taken out so early. So you know what? Galaxy brain Rom Thompson right there. And I did not want Robertson. I did not trust him at all. So I tip my cap. So my question about the bullpen, it's been closer by committee, right? I mean, you got Alvarado, you got Dominguez, you've seen Eflin earlier on. Would you prefer one guy to kind of take over the closing spot in the World Series, or do you want to keep it rolling like this?
You always prefer to have a guy take over, but this, like you said, Thompson has pulled all the right strings at all the right times. It's different when it's not working, right? Like sometimes being a coach or a manager, the head of your sport organization's playing product, sometimes it's just about getting it right. It doesn't matter how you're doing it. and when it's right, there's nobody that can criticize you because it's worked. And I'll say this: I think that I would like to see, if it had to be somebody, I think I prefer to see Sir Anthony do it. I especially think that he should be the guy to do it at home because he's a guy that we've talked about his, I don't want to say mental issue sounds like way too strong, but he gets frazzled easily, right? And like that's a lot easier to happen when you're on the road. He is really, like, to me, when I watch the games, he seems like the Philly that feeds almost the most out of, in terms of the time that he's involved in the playing, which is only half the time. It seems like he feeds off the crowd's energy more than just about anybody. Like obviously Harper and Schwarber are probably the two other main guys, but they get 3-4 bats a game. Sir Anthony Dominguez comes in, for 20 pitches at most. If you're looking at the advanced stats here, I think he's getting more from the crowd on a per minute basis, I guess is kind of the point I'm trying to make here. So this sounds stupid, but I would maybe almost like to see it,
at home.
Pick your poison on the road, maybe a little bit more fluid in the road games, but I would like to see Dominguez come at home, which sounds stupid, but he's the Phillies' most talented closing option. And
that's funny.
And sometimes, like when you're up against guys like Altuve and Bregman and Correa, guys who have performed in the World Series at a high level multiple times in the last 5 years, like sometimes talent's just your best bet. And I think Dominguez is the most talented Phillies closing option. Like no disrespect, like Eflin, I think great for blocking out the noise on the road, getting the last 2 outs in a tight game on the road when you're up a run. But if it's a tie game, like I'm not trusting Eflin to get me to the bottom.
You're right.
Tied at 3.
So it's I mean, look, yesterday with Sir Anthony, I'll throw that outing out. It was really coming down when he was pitching. When Sir Anthony when he was pitching, that was the one time that I felt at the game that they should have stopped the game. And I had no problem that they didn't, but the rain was like not a problem. I was getting texts. Apparently, it looked really bad on TV. It was like not bad.
It you could tell it wasn't like downpouring, but
yeah,
it didn't look. It definitely looked heavy enough to impact pitching, especially.
So I didn't feel it was heavy enough to impact anything until the inning where it actually impacted something, which really sucked. Like the 2 wild pitches in the same sequence from Sir Anthony, and then after the game he was asked about his outing and he said, "I pitched today," like jokingly. It was a good bit by Sir Anthony there, but all right, short answer, I just keep going pitcher or closer by committee, which is crazy. Any of these teams that win the World Series or have these runs, they've got that one guy where it's like, all right, you let us get to the 9th inning, it's over for you because we got that one guy. And for the Phillies, it's very much not like that, but I think they're just playing the matchups. And having Alvarado as a lefty and Sir Anthony as a righty, I think it kind of sorts itself out every game and does so in a convenient way where one of the guys kind of needs to be inserted in the game in the 7th or 8th inning, kind of as a stopper. And with the Padres, it's like, okay, you got Soto coming up, right? Let's get a lefty in there, and we can live with Machado beating us. Let me just double check what handedness Yordan Alvarez is.
Pretty sure Alvarez is a righty. I think I know Altuve's a lefty.
Altuve is a righty.
Wait, Altuve's who's the lefty? It's Altuve.
So you had it flipped. Yordan's a lefty and Altuve's a righty. So that's scary.
Alvarez and Altuve. That's on me.
That's a scary thing about this series. Is I don't know if you're going to be able to pick and choose which guy you're going to have beat you. Honestly, I think I'd rather have Alvarado for Alvarez, and if Altuve beats you, so be it, than Sir Anthony against Yordan Alvarez. I mean, Yordan Alvarez is just so freaking terrifying, man. I'd rather have – I'm honest, Max. Gun to my head, I'd rather have Jose Alvarado. Just the way he has pitched since he got called back up from AAA, he's been one of the best relievers in the MLB, and there's just
he's been very level-headed, and that's kind of what I mean. Like, I think on the road, like, playing the World Series, there's the added pressure, right? It's different. Like, no matter how good the vibes have been, this is 4 days, 5 days off between games. Like, this isn't, oh, we got another game against the Padres tomorrow. Oh, we got a day off, game against the Padres the next day. Like, there's a lot of time to stew in this. And opening the game on the road, I do expect there to be nerves in the Phillies bullpen. And I think that's going to affect guys like Sir Anthony more than it would someone like Alvarado or Eflin, for example.
Do you follow this account called No Context Philly on Instagram?
I've seen their stuff, but I do not follow them.
So during this run, they post 5 slides, anytime Alvarado like plays, and it's one of those things where the more it happens, just the better and funnier it gets. It's a picture of Jose Alvarado looking up to the skies. You can't see it, with Kanye West going like, "He's done miracles on me," followed by Alvarado saying, "Philadelphia, this is for you." And then Alvarado, the Stephen A ends the GOAT debate with a picture of Jose Alvarado instead of like LeBron or Jordan. It's just Jose Alvarado has become my favorite Philly probably during this run. Like, obviously Bryce is my favorite Philly, but like, you know what I mean? Like during this run, there's been one guy who's really jumped out to me as like, oh, I love this guy way more than I loved him before this run. It's been Jose Alvarado. I can't get enough. Pivot. Who's that guy been for you? Like, who's been that guy for you where you've been like, oh, I love this guy way more than I did at the start of this?
That's a good question. I think I kind of want to say it might be this sounds like a cop-out answer, but I think for me it's kind of Stott. I feel like every time I'm looking up, he's doing something.
Yeah.
Like, whether it's good or bad, I feel like he's just involved. I feel like he's been like I feel like he's just been solid, and I think it's more so the fact that I wasn't really sure about him in the regular season. It kind of felt like for a while he was just playing because there was nobody else really there, and you know, he's certainly not like carrying the Phillies, but it feels like he's had when he's needed to do something of importance, he has, and the rest of the times he's just there for the vibes.
Yeah, you said it exactly.
I go 1 for 8 in a 2-game span, but the one hit is an RBI and he gets on base and scores a run, and that's all he needs to do.
He's hitting 200, which is shocking. Like, because I'm with you, and I don't think we might not be here if he doesn't get the party started with that double, the RBI double against Strider in that game. That's what started the run for the Phillies. That really we haven't stopped since. It's kind of crazy. He really got the scoring started. So I love that too. You saw him with the Budweiser thing over his head yesterday. He's just the man. He's the shortstop of the future. Bryson Stott must love this whole baseball thing. Like 11 years have gone by. His first year in the bigs, they go to the freaking World Series. It's pretty funny.
Pretty easy.
Here we go. Before we do our official prediction, came up with a little side topic. Feast and famine digits. In this World Series, it seems like it can go either way. In what elements will there be a feast? In what elements do you think there might be a famine?
Oh, I thought you were going to like give me some.
Just in general.
Okay. Just in general. Okay. I think there will be runs. The Phillies have. I can't remember a team that's made it this deep in the MLB postseason having this exciting of games, if I'm being totally honest. And maybe I'm a little bit biased because I watch more of these games than I am of the average MLB postseason run. But you know, even just looking at the other results around the league this year, the Phillies are not playing normal postseason games, and part of me thinks that kind of works to their advantage. Like they seem that they're a team that kind of produces better in chaos. Like I'll say this: the later a game goes with this game tied at 0-0. Jesus, I can't talk. The later the game goes with the score tied at 0-0, the less confident I am in the Phillies winning the game. I think it's really that simple. I think more open and up tempo games, because I don't really know how else to categorize it in baseball terms. I think games like that will work to the Phillies' advantage, and you know, based on what I've seen in the, are we calling this 2 rounds, 2.5 rounds? How are we referring to this playoff?
3 rounds? I give it 3 rounds.
Okay. So far in the 3 rounds of baseball the Phillies have played, there have been many more games that have went over 7 runs than under 7 runs, and I think that's probably the key number for the Phillies in general. Because if there's that, the Phillies don't have a lockdown pitching staff by any means, especially in the bullpen. I think pretty much everybody in there is susceptible in their own right. There's not one person that I'm like, every time this guy comes in, he's not going to let up more than 1 hit per 9 batters face.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. So I think that if you're the Phillies, you need to get a couple runs on the board so you have a cushion to work with. So I guess feast, runs.
I like that. I think for Phil's, the feast thing for them will be actually the bottom of their lineup. The Astros, they're a good team. You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong. Like, they're a great team. We'll get to our official predictions later. But I just think the Phil's bottom of their lineup has been so impressive this whole run and have been able to like gut out at bats. And the last couple games it was the guys, Harper, Hoskins, they've been hitting the big flies. But it's guys you were talking about, it's Stott, it's Brandon Marsh with his 3-run home run, So I think the bottom of the lineup for the Phils can be really big. And the pitching's such a fickle game. It's such a hard thing to do. And I think a big focus, whether it be the starters, whether it be Dusty Baker calling on guys like Stanek or Neris. It's so funny that Neris is
there.
And one of their best relievers too. Like him and Stanek really hold it down. But I think they're going to be so emphasizing like getting good matchups on Harper, getting good matchups on Hoskins and JT. And I think they might slack a little bit when they're going up against, Stott, Vierling, and, or Segura or something like that. And I think that's where the Phillies can take an advantage. Don't get me wrong, man. The Astros, they've got a good lineup too, but I'm looking at their bottom of the lineup. No offense to friend of the show, Chas McCormick, or anything like that. That's hilarious. But their bottom of their lineup is Gurriel, Mancini, McCormick, Maldonado. Like, look, Trey Mancini was a great player with the Orioles. He's a good ball player. Yuri Gurriel, he's hitting pretty well this postseason. And I don't know. Like, these guys have been there before. They're just – I'm not afraid of them. And I'm sure the Astros are saying the same thing about the Phillies. But I just have –
This is like the most classic age versus experience debate.
That's a great point. And on that topic, I think a big aspect of this will be pressure situations. I really believe that the Phillies are still have that benefit of being like, screw it. Like nobody expected us to be here. We didn't really expect to be here. We're playing with house money still. The Astros have all the pressure on them. One, they're the best team in the MLB this year. I mean, other than the Dodgers. And two, they have so much to prove. And this is not a popular thing for me to say, considering the circumstances, and not even considering the circumstances. I've wanted to see the Astros win a World Series since the trash can thing, man. Like, I want to see them kind of like be like, oh, we don't need trash cans to win a World Series. All eyes are on them. Everyone's going to be talking about that in the 28 cities that aren't Philadelphia or Houston. So I think a real aspect is just the straight up pressure. Now, where I think the famine may come in, Max, is just bottom line, the pitching. Like, I think the Phillies have great pitching. Don't get me wrong. The Astros pitching, I really think, is just that much better. You say runs, and I think there will be some games where we'll be able to score runs. They'll be able to score runs. I don't like going up against this Astros pitching because they're so freaking deep, man. That's the exact opposite of the Phillies. They can go 7-game series, right? If this goes 7, Astros will have no problem with pitching. The Phillies, they're going to be trying to get Wheeler out there on short rest. They're going to be, you saw it yesterday, they were forcing Suarez in there to close the game on 2 days rest. This Astros team, specifically in this playoffs, I'm going down the line here. Framber Valdez, Lance McCullers Jr., Justin Verlander, right? Those are their 3 main starters. But then you got guys like Christian Javier who pitched like 6 straight innings in an 18-inning game and didn't allow a run, and he's thought of as one of their lesser pitchers. You got guys like Ryan Presley, who he wasn't perfect as a closer this year, but he throws seeds. Brian Abreu, I'm not sure he's given up a run. No, I just checked. He hasn't given up a run this playoffs. Ryan Stanek, the flamethrower, you know him from the Tampa Bay Rays. He's now on the Astros. And even Hector Neris. So, like, the Phillies, you got 4, like, killers as pitchers, and that's Wheeler, Nola, Alvarado, Sir Anthony. I feel like the Astros have 6.5. You know what I mean? Like between Verlander, McCullers, Valdez.
Really quick, who's the guy who hasn't let up a run this postseason?
Brian Abreu, I believe. Not to be confused with Bobby.
I guarantee the Phillies take a late lead off him at some point this year.
Because he's due?
He's due.
He's due. And let me check his age. I think he's pretty young, too. Yeah, he's 25 years old. He seems like the kind of guy, he gets inserted into the Citizens Bank Park atmosphere, and all of a sudden he forgets how good he is. He starts, the doubt starts creeping in his mind. I love that, Digits. Real quick, I mean, I spent a long time on the famine because, man, I'm a little nervous. What do you think may go wrong in the famine category?
The pitching was going to be the only thing I really had. One other thing that I don't think we're going to cover, so I'll throw it here. I know we're gonna this may seem like a joke, but the Phillies vibe is a lot different than the Yankees. The Yankees have been owned by this
Great
team.
point.
The Yankees have had, we don't need to go down. I mean, just the fact that their manager is on FaceTime with David Ortiz talking about the Red Sox. It's just a mess there, right? The Astros, from my understanding, they have been the big bad Astros out in the West. They haven't really faced much resistance. I think that this will be a very interesting series in terms of the mental state of both teams, because the Astros haven't really been tested. And like you mentioned, the Phillies have just been kind of floating by on house money. Like what's going to come out on top here? Is it going to be the Astros who are kind of like the well-oiled machine, or is it going to be, or can that be deconstructed by this Phillies team who just seems to get drunk and sing their way through any sort of major speed bump in the last in the last month? So it's going to be very different. I don't think we're going to cover that at any point. I just think that it's almost cliche, right? Like in terms of just like good guys versus bad guys. Like not necessarily the Astros are bad guys, but
no, but yeah,
the way that they operate is a lot more clinical, a lot more like buttoned up.
All right, Digits, it's time. Your official World Series prediction: who wins, how many games, and who wins World Series MVP?
I mean, there's no way I'm predicting against the Phillies. It's just not happening. The term "team of destiny" gets thrown around perhaps a bit too loosely. This team is a team of destiny. Team of Destinies make it into the playoffs because the league added an extra playoff spot. Team of Destinies almost sweep through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, dropping 2 games in 3 rounds, including against a team that has quite literally owned them for the past 3 years running. Teams of Destiny don't not hit go-ahead home runs to clinch series in the bottom of the 7th inning.
They're checking all the boxes.
I can't in good faith say the Phillies are doing anything poorly right now, and I think that the fact that they're essentially guaranteed to win 2 of 3 in Philadelphia, if not all 3, I'll take my chances. I think that I kind of was feeling to go out on a limb about Game 1, and your Justin Verlander's stats have jarred that loose in my head, because you're right. He does. This happens every Game 1 for Houston. Verlander gets rocked and they lose. So I was going to say that I think Game 1 is the most important game of this series regardless, because it's going to set the tone. It's going to sound cliche, but Game 1 will set the tone. Like I said, I guarantee the Phillies will win Game 3. I guarantee that they will leave Philadelphia with a 2 of 3 split at worst. I think that this is – the stars are aligning, Josh. The stars are aligning. Stars are aligning, and I'm not going to sit here and try and talk myself out of it because I don't want to sound biased. I think that if you looked at this series matchup from from any other fan base's perspective, it's really just a matter of, man, the Phillies look great, and everyone's just, the Astros just did what they had to do with the Yankees. It was never in doubt. It was never in contention. I just think that the Phillies are just kind of they're clicking on a different level. Maybe not in terms of on the field, but just in terms of everything. It's in the air.
Who's your series MVP?
I mean, Bryce Harper would have to not get a hit for him to not win this. The only other person who has an outside chance of winning it, I would say, would be Kyle Schwarber.
He could hit like a few big. I mean,
Bryce Harper can hit 188 with 1 RBI, and as long as that 1 RBI wins them a game, like as long as that's the deciding run in a game, he'll win MVP.
Kind of like Kyle Schwarber is like one of the best players in like recent history. Like he's not like Mike Trout or anything.
Yeah, he's not an all-time great, but
right.
There's a reason this dude has been on so many teams that have had deep postseason runs in the last, I don't know, almost 10 years at this point.
He's been a part of like so much postseason greatness. He just goes yard, he mashes. Seems like a fun dude. All right, man. I'm sorry. I hate to do this. I'm going Astros in 5. I'm just being honest, man. I don't lie, but
shame on you, Josh.
I said it the second the Phillies won against the Braves in the NLDS. I said to everyone I could tell, this is going to be just like the Sixers in 2001. The Lakers, I'm pretty sure they didn't lose a playoff game that year. You had the one step over moment. It broke the world. We still talk about that. But ultimately, the Lakers, the better team, won that in 5. That is my exact prediction, like to the T. I think we're going to get a Bryce Harper walk-off, like some insane game. It's going to be the greatest moment ever. Astros are too good, man. The Astros are too damn good. I'm sorry. I'm going Astros in 5. I hate to do it. I have to do it.
You're the same guy who said they would get booted out in the wild card.
I am.
You didn't want to play the Mets.
I wanted to play the Mets. Yeah, I wanted to play the Mets. Max, I just keep waiting for it to end. So you know what? I'm gonna keep that moment. I'm gonna keep that mindset, and I'll be shocked and surprised every time the Phillies win. And let's just keep it coming. But
it all comes down to game 1. If they can pull one from Verlander, then this series is very much on. But yeah.
Oh my God, man!
I shouldn't say it's game 1. It's really about whatever game Wheeler starts. If they lose the Wheeler game, that might be in early grave.
Look, all this being said, the Yankees tickets were going for what, $20 yesterday. I think I saw. That's not happening in Philly. The Phillies could go down 3-0. There's so much fight in this team in the city. They're like, it doesn't matter to me.
3-0 is not a possibility because the Phillies are guaranteed to win Game 3. Guaranteed.
I feel it. Yeah. I don't know who'd start that game for the Astros. We'll get there when we get there.
Who cares? I do not care. I said the same thing about the Brave series. I guarantee the bank has been
5-0. 5-0.
It's been impenetrable this postseason.
Dude, John Middleton's cleaning up. He's gotten the maximum number of home games. They've all been wins. Golly. All right, that does it for the main event. All Phillies. Who had that on your bingo card? On October 24th, all Phillies main event. That's so crazy, man. I love it. Halftime. We're sticking to our guns with halftime. I thought about switching up the playoff winners or losers, but what's the point? It's just the Phillies are the winners. Everyone else is losers.
Winners, Yankees, losers next.
NFL Week 7, winners and losers. And you'll have to help me, Max, because I didn't watch a snap of NFL football yesterday. I didn't watch a snap. So
do I need to go twice then for
no, I'll weigh in here, but because it's fun. But you got to carry. Hit us with the loser first, of course.
Oh boy, I mean the most obvious and easiest loser of all time is Tom Brady and the Bucs.
Oh yeah,
absolute clown performance by them. Tom Brady. This is not a hallucination, Josh. Temple legend P.J. Walker outdueled Tom Brady in a regular season NFL game, and it wasn't close.
If the Phillies weren't playing yesterday, this is bulletin board material for us.
Absolutely
nuts. I didn't even think about it. I don't even think that processed until you just said it right now. That's crazy.
He looked great. I mean, look, we always mention that when you bring up PFF, there are some flaws in the process. P.J. Walker graded as QB1 on the week.
That's awesome. There's a lot of. I'm looking at the scores. There's a lot of winners this week too.
Yeah, you got one. Go ahead.
I got it. We're going with losers first.
Oh, right, losers. Sorry.
This might not be like everyone's loser. Your loser was the bigger one, I'd say.
Yeah, they're the easy one this week.
And you could go with Chargers losers, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm actually gonna go to the Colts as a loser, not just because they lost that game. But I think the reaction to that loss might have what made them the loser. Benching Matt Ryan for Sam Ehlinger this upcoming game.
I actually disagree because I think them making this move removes them from loser category because, I mean, they say Matt Ryan's hurt. Matt Ryan's done. The Matt Ryan thing is over. At this point, I think it's the right thing to do to cut your losses this early and not do this thing where you're prancing around in the media for the rest of this week or even for another game. They realized through 7 weeks that this is not working. And at that point, what Matt Ryan is going to bring you. He's slow, he's dusty, his arm strength is gone. You don't own your pick anyway this year, I'm pretty sure. So why not at least throw Sam Ehlinger in there and see what he can do? Clearly, Matt Ryan's not the answer, so you might as well see if you have a gem.
I guess maybe I'm the loser of the week then. Because I thought the Colts. I really thought the Colts were figuring it out. Like I thought that the win against the Jaguars was like, oh, we got the divisional monkey off our back. we're starting to figure out what this team is. Matt Ryan threw for what, like 350 yards. I was thinking the Colts were figuring things out. And then to lose to the Titans, that's not that bad. But I was just shocked. I mean, I like Sam Ehlinger at Texas, but I think there's a reason he hasn't gotten any run in the NFL to this point.
Look, I'm not saying Sam Ehlinger is going to be, the next great one or anything, but Sam Ehlinger's never even had a chance. Ever since he's been drafted, that team's been trying to stopgap holes at QB, thinking that they're good enough to compete for a title. He's never really had a chance. So I'm not willing to totally write him off yet. Like I said, I don't necessarily think he's going to come in and make a push for offensive rookie of the year or anything like that. But I know that Matt Ryan, I guess, looked probably the best he has all year last week, but I think that with his injury, it's just like this guy it's not working. We might as well just see what Sam Ehlinger was a second or third round pick. It's not like he was just a late round dart throw or something. So at this point, there's really nothing left for the Colts to play for because they've already lost to the Titans twice this year. The division is dead, and they're clearly not good enough to be a playoff team otherwise. You have a major hole at quarterback that you're repeatedly failing to address. You got nothing to lose by playing the kid.
All right, moving on to the other side. Winners. Felt like there's a few winners this week. Fidgets, where are you going?
I mean, you flirted with bringing the opposite side of this game up as a loser, but the Seattle Seahawks are in first place in the NFC West through 7 weeks, and that is something that I never thought I'd be saying this year. I was on record as saying I thought Seattle would finish as one of the worst 5 teams. Not saying I'm crazy for that. A lot of people had that take, but I was firmly in the camp that Seattle would absolutely stink, and given the strength of their division around them, that they would really struggle to win a lot of games, and that's just not the case. They are playing great football. Not even joking, Geno Smith has been better than Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady this year through 7 games, and that's not an exaggeration by any stretch of the word.
No, it's not.
He's made some really, really great throws, and there's a reason that his offense scores more than at this point. I think in the last 3 weeks, I think the Seahawks have outscored those 2 teams combined, maybe, or it's at least close to it. So I think that honestly, a major tip of the cap to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll was right all along. This was a Russell Wilson issue, not a Seahawks issue. And sometimes you get better by losing and we're using this term very loosely, your best player.
Right.
Major hats off to the Seattle coaching staff and front office for the Seahawks are in first place in the division and currently have a top 10 draft pick thanks to the Broncos, much like the Eagles.
And man, I this isn't a hot take. They got one with Kenneth Walker, man. That guy's going to be a problem. Like, I didn't get to watch him this game other than I can't say I watched him. But who did they play last week?
Last week was that the Cardinals game or was that the week before?
I don't know. It doesn't really matter anyways. The point I'm making here is it was his first game where he got a start, and I don't even know what his stats were at the end of the game. Just watching the way he ran, dude, he's got ball carrier vision. He has to have like a 96 spin move on Madden or something like that. He's a weapon, man.
He's really good, and he's got he's got the full package. Like the only thing they haven't really used him for a ton is in the receiving department, but
who needs that?
Yeah, I mean, if you're that good of a runner, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You said you didn't really watch anything yesterday. If you want a good highlight, go watch his touchdown run or maybe it was his second touchdown run. I forget.
I'll check it out. He's fun to watch, man. He's dazzling.
Yeah.
My winner, I mean, this is the obvious objective winner of the week. Other one, New York Football Giants. What the hell's going on, Max? What the hell's going on? Was it really the coaching? Was it really all the coaching? I don't know what's going on.
Brian Dable found a "we have Josh Allen at home" version with Daniel Jones, and I'll say this: he's got a much better running back than he ever did in Buffalo. I honestly, winner this week is the NFC Beast, baby. We are fucking back, Josh. We're the best division in football, and it's not close.
Even the commies, now that they wised up and got rid of Wentz, not got rid of, you know what I meant. They started Heineke.
They had no choice. Carson Wentz never wins that game going down 14-3. Never in a million years.
That's true. I'm just looking at the receiving stats on the Giants, and it's freaking hilarious, man. Who the hell are these guys? You got Darius Slayton.
No disrespect to Wan'Dale Robinson.
I am disrespecting Wan'Dale Robinson.
I'm very worried that Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be a major problem. I love that
Are you
guy.
kidding me?
Josh, remember this. When
I will.
he was fighting an injury coming into this year, he has the clearest path to being a true wide receiver one. He is so much more talented than any receiver on that
I hate
roster.
that. But I'm just looking at like down the line. It's just funny, man. It's like 1 reception for David Sills, 2 receptions for Chris Mierek. Who's
Ira, come
that?
on. He's the guy who scored against the Eagles last year, Josh.
I blocked that game out of my memory.
I only remember him because he's from the area.
1 reception for David Sills, 1 reception for Matt Breida, 1 reception for don't call him Cody Daniel Bellinger, 1 reception for freaking Richie James. They're making these guys up. This is like when you play NCAA football and you get through 4 years and none of the guys are real anymore. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like
I know what you mean.
these are all computer generated players and they're 6-1 with I'm going to just give you credit as if you came up with that on yourself. We have Josh Allen at home. That's freaking
I did just come up with that one myself.
Max, that's I sound like I'm like smoking a pack a day over here. My goodness. I love that. I'm calling him that.
Red October, Josh.
Oh my God. I'm catching my breath. Whew. Real quick, I mean, we're gonna get out of here. There's just a couple fun rapid fires I have. What did I miss? Is there anything I missed that you would want to relay to someone who didn't get to watch football yesterday?
This was the week of the old quarterback, like in a bad way. All the old quarterbacks stunk this week. That's really the best way that I can give you a quick summary.
Well, digits. It's a great segue into my rapid fire. This is the one I really wanted to talk about because that's been the theme of the season, not just this week. Has this been the worst NFL season overall that you can remember?
I don't like being one of these people, but kind of, yeah. It hasn't been that like.
It's not like you can like pinpoint a season and be like that one was bad, but I think that's more because every season's so good. Like this is like the first season where everyone's kind of like, what the hell's going on? Like, and you never hear that. You never hear that.
Can we get some mid-show breaking news?
Yeah.
The Jets have acquired running back James Robinson from the Jaguars.
Whoa. That sucks. I was so hyped. I had Mike Carter on both my fantasy teams. God damn.
Hey, that's how the cookie crumbles.
Okay,
But,
good for the Jets.
We don't often get the Monday night breaking news, so
That's
I wanted
whack.
to drop that in there.
That is wild. What did they give up? Third?
Let me find
Sounds
out.
like a third.
No, there's no way they gave up that much.
I guess I love James
Jets
Robinson.
sitting at 6, that could become a 5th.
Trading in the NFL is so dumb. Like these teams value draft picks way too much, in my opinion. I don't know. We could talk about Brian Burns, but there's no point. We'll wait on that news. Real quick, have you watched a minute of the 76ers this year?
Yes.
I have not. I have not watched a minute of the 76ers.
I watched the whole first game against the Celtics. I missed most of the game against the Bucks because I was out at Epcot that day.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, not
I'm
the
jealous.
worst reason to miss the game. And then the Spurs game I had on my phone. It was like side viewing, but obviously became progressively less interested as the game kept going on and they kept being down by 8-12 and never really closing the gap. So yeah, I have. NBA is always my time of year.
I know. I just figured I'd ask. Last question here, Digits. Where will we be watching the World Series from?
That's a hell of a question.
Because I mean, Xfinity will probably be out. There was a line wrapping around an hour before the game.
Xfinity's never an option for me. It's too far to stand inside of it. Like, I get the appeal of Xfinity, and it is lit there. I've been there for a couple awesome moments, but for watch party purposes, I just can't do it. I'd rather just
packed
go
in like
somewhere
sardines.
Yeah, I would just rather go somewhere much closer that's cheaper for drinks and won't cost me an arm and a leg to get there and back.
But we're talking about vibes, Max. It's the World Series. Let's throw money out the window. We're talking about like vibes.
Well, that's what I mean. I would say I would always recommend anybody just go to one of your local spots, right? Like find somewhere that easier said than done, but don't go to Center City expecting Center City's for the massive crowds. If that's your thing, you go to Center City. If you want just somewhere you can kind of put down some brews or some mixed drinks or whatever, and watch the Phillies on TV because you don't have that FS1. The closer to your residence, likely the better.
Fair play. Spoken like a veteran of the city right there.
Do what I can.
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta figure it out. I will certainly be somewhere. Lord knows I will not be in the building for World Series tickets. Are going for like $1,200. I signed up.
I really wanted to, Josh, but I can't pull the trigger on them.
You'd be a bit foolish. Max. No offense. I don't know how much money you're making, but there's no way it would be a good financial decision for you.
I'm not making enough where I can do for a pair of tickets.
I signed up for like the World Series like lottery that the Phillies are doing, like because they can't sell tickets to everyone, so you got to sign up for it, and maybe you'll get picked to buy World Series tickets. If I get picked, I probably still won't even buy them. Like, it's probably gonna be like $500 even directly from the Phillies. The NLDS was $60. I was shocked. Like, it was a no-brainer. The World Series probably gonna be like $500.
Different story.
All right, man. You got to tap out anything?
Went to Disney for the first time as a 28-year-old adult with no children, perfectly normal. Find a new slant. It was pretty sick. Don't go to Magic Kingdom if you're not with anybody who's, I don't know, 11 or 12 years of age or it's where this whole Disney thing started from. But yeah, I'm all right with passing on that. Should I ever go back there in my
That's fair.
Did
you go to all of them?
I did Magic Kingdom, Epcot, Universal Studios, Hollywood Studios.
Ooh, I've never been to Universal. I've gone to Disney before. You do Harry Potter?
I did some Harry Potter stuff. Yeah, walked through. It was pretty sick. I was a Harry Potter.
Yeah, I want to do Harry Potter.
No two ways about it. It was pretty sick to walk. I will say this: the attention to detail and all the stuff and in all of them, not just Harry Potter, it was definitely pretty cool.
Yeah, it's tough, man. There's so many places I haven't been, right? Like, I would love to go to the UK for longer than a weekend, but damn it, Harry Potter World sounds awesome. And I remember going to Animal Kingdom not too long ago. Those rides there are epic. I was wondering if you went to Animal Kingdom. Nobody talks about Animal Kingdom. That's some awesome rides. Anyways, I don't, dude. My brain is just. I'm so subdued today. This might be my last show, Digits. I don't even know, man. I don't even know. We got to figure some stuff out. I'm moving like in a week and a half. I'm still not totally sure what my life and schedule is going to look like once I'm there. So I don't want to say it's going to be. I don't want to be done. So I don't want to say I'm done. But dude, I don't know. If it is, it's been a fantastic ride.
Quite the teaser.
It's been quite a ride. Let's hope it's not. So let's just see you later. And if nothing else, we'll be chatting. There's nothing like talking Philly sports, man.
Absolutely.
For this exact reason. Go Phils, go Birds, and as always, we're brought to you by My New Philly, where something's always new and everything's always Philly. Have a good night. Don't bet on this game, right? What do you got action?
Just don't take the Sixers. If you're not one of those people who doesn't bet against your team, leave it alone. That's all I'll say.
I'm talking Bears Patriots.
Primetime unders hit at a crazy clip. Why not, right?
I got Patriots teased with the under teased, the saffron special, if you will.
You
Other than that, you probably shouldn't bet on it. I'm just reaching because I'm bored. Folks, see ya. Have a good night.
Later.